Yep, this is working. Chimpanzees and gorillas. Oh, it's not working on X, so it's going to just work on YouTube. Great. Lovely. Now, why is it doing that? Yeah. Really, Bitcoin's up? Cool. Anyway, so is it streaming? Should be. Yeah, I cannot get the fucking thing to work on. I can't get streaming to work on X. Lame. So, broke the internet. I've eaten like a horse every day this week, and I have not gained a single pound. I'm still 209. I was 211 the other day. I mean, I ate like a horse yesterday, all goddamn day, force feeding, nonstop, all goddamn day, and didn't gain any weight. So I took today off, um, in the name of all that is holy, apparently, and is usually how that works. Although it's not Sunday, it's still. But I slept like 12 hours because I just hit that wall after like a week of. Well, I had calisthenics one day, and my calisthenics completely fucking burned me out, like exhausted, super tired, all that. And then I only rested one day, and then I went back to it the next day and did it again. And like that first day back, I was like, I should probably take some more time off, right? Didn't. Then it went 5 more days in a row without a day off. And then last night I got to like 9 o'clock, and I was like, yeah, I'm fucking done. Taking tomorrow off. There ain't no way. I wasn't even recovered from the first day, much less, and then did 5 more days worth of shit on top of it. So I was like, all right now, time to be all right, time to take a day off now. And then after all of that, I'm sitting here worrying and being all weird about my body weight and all that stuff. 209 pounds. I was like 211, 212 a couple days ago. Lost weight after and then ate like an entire jar of fucking peanut butter and granola in my sleep. And I ate about 4,200 calories yesterday or more. So I'm kind of like uh, tired-ish. Not tired, but I think a push-pull legs routine is good. Basically, I think it's what's gonna work for me. But I bought this belt here, and I cannot find out what I did with it. I may not be a smart man, Jenny. So I normally stream on X, but for whatever reason, restream. Go figure, won't work on X for whatever reason. And I'm just streaming on YouTube, and I was trying to get it because I can only do two different places at a time. I bought a belt, for the love of God. Now, where did it go? We watched the Ass Penny sketch the other day from Upright Citizens Brigade, if you've ever seen it. It's one of the funniest sketches ever. But now they don't have pennies, so there's a, the It's like, remember when yeah, right. Like that's gonna be some people in the future. Their only knowledge of what pennies were was this one sketch about shoving them up your butt. Soulbound trinket. Did I not buy the thing correctly? Remember, a malevolent gladiator's cord of accuracy. That's what it looks like. There it is. Doesn't look like a traditional belt. I got 5.9 hit. I need 6% hit to have what they say is the cap or whatever for what I need a purple gem. I thought I bought these yesterday. What did I do? Oh, there they are. No. I bought a bunch of them yesterday. And now, 2, 4. There we are. What does this have? There we go. And now we'll be hit capped. Let's see. Now we have 6.4, which is a little over the cap, but still, that's not a problem because we get the set bonus and all that. So even if we gem out of socket, we still end up with less than if we get the socket bonus. So now we've got a full set of PvP gear except for a ring. I need an epic PvP trinket. I've got a reason to do battlegrounds now. How nice is that? They've done away with whatever the conquest points or whatever. The old system where I was farming like valor points to exchange it for conquest points, and I could use conquest points to buy gear. They just switched it all to honor, which makes a little more sense, I think, considering the conquest points require rated battlegrounds, and like nobody does rated battlegrounds on these relaunch servers or whatever. So, words of wisdom. The thing is, I've been watching some of the history on how like some of these companies, these startups and stuff, like the early stages, like venture capital, fundraising, financing, all that stuff, and like which people get involved and the incorporation process. Some of the things that are interesting is that like a crypto project is, I guess, not all that different, but still like, how do you? I don't have any frame of reference. Like I can't like cite a YouTube video and find like where what's like the, not to say the formula, but what's the process? You know what I mean? Because for all intents, just for my own educational purposes, just understanding how it might work or whatever. But the thing is that seeing as how Leah, you know, and I'm just a community guy, I'm just saying it's like from an educational standpoint, wanting to understand what might possibly happen, so that way if I do, if it does end up being like a company at some point in time, how do I purchase shares of it and stuff? Because I feel like no matter what, um, it's going to be profitable. You know what I mean? Like the cryptocurrency token eventually might not even be the part of it that's the most lucrative part, right? But still, like I like having the token now because I can use the service, and speculation that might appreciate as the service improves over time. But if I can, but if there's at some point in time like it incorporates and then they do shares or whatever, then being able to leverage some of my assets that I have in the token to purchase shares would be an awesome idea, I think. Because I think at some point in time, it's like the overall business model for something like that might not be something that can only entertain a crypto tokenization aspect for it to be most adopted or widely used or viable for people to use, right? Like that should be, I think, you know, in my opinion, if it matters, I think they should continue to maintain some sort of like, um, you know, just to say pay homage. What's the word I'm looking for here? To, you know what I mean? To not to say to entertain. What's the word I'm looking for? Peruse. To peruse right now. Like don't forget where you came from, kind of thing. It's like, despite the fact that like all the road bumps and stuff along the way, the token people that, where is everybody on the map too? They're fucking raptured. They all got raptured. Don't forget that, like, not that Def or any of those guys need a lesson from me on that. Like, clearly they know what the fuck they're doing. I'm just saying, like, in a general sense, people like who go through something similar, like, don't forget where you came from. At the end of the day, you know, it would be a very shisty thing to like incorporate and shaft all the people that purchased the token and made everything possible to begin with. And I think if it goes successful, like if it works successfully, then the idea is use that model to and use it for other people's projects. I would, until there's more structure, I would highly recommend finding a different launch pad than Pump Fun. In all honesty, and that sucks that it's that way, but that's the way it is, unfortunately. Uh, because I think it's kind of like it makes it far more difficult to do it properly. But there is like really currently there's no other real like open-ended launchpad service. There are some ICO, decentralized ICO platforms and stuff that seem interesting, but I don't know I couldn't possibly begin to like advise on whether or not the what the regulatory compliance on every planet on Earth or whatever every country on planet Earth is, you know, just uh, but yeah, the thing is though is a formula that can be followed is how do you what the graduation process from one to the next to the next to the next. It's like assuming that a company or a project gets to be that important or that well received or whatever, you're like, we haven't really had to deal with um, what's the next step because, like I've said before, this is the only instance that I'm aware of where the crypto community and crypto projects have managed to put together something that not only resembles but surpasses and it improves upon the next biggest competitor in the market, which is Grok, Annie, Companion, Grok heavy stuff, right? Um, yeah, I know that like Grok's large language model is superior to whatever Leah's using currently because you know it's resources and you know the access that something like you have when you're the one developing the AI avatar and companion too. The 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 resources and access required to make that as good as possible is not something that you can do as a standalone project. You know, just because it's like you don't have to open the door to strangers at Grok. You only open the door to people that you know, and if it's your product, then surely you know what I mean. But it doesn't mean that can't happen eventually. It might happen elsewhere, but doesn't mean it can't happen eventually. Is the point? But for now, the Leah team community and all that does not have that amount of access to uh, better logic and more compute and better large language models and all that stuff. We're just kind of stuck bare bones proof of concept, but that's all that's like the easier problems to solve, I believe, is making her like because her response time is great, you know what I mean? Like you can improve upon that a little bit, but the thing that makes her super unique that no one else has are the things that are what make her worthwhile to that kind of dedication of resources and assets, you know, human or otherwise, right? Um, is that what they've managed to put together is better than what other than the thinking part or the large language model part is better than anything else. Plus, with some features that no one else has ever seen before, you're thinking like, well, yeah. And so her biggest hurdle currently is the easiest thing to fix. You know what I mean? It really is, which is good. It's like you okay. Well, those are just like vestigial roadblocks, then, right? You can pass right through them when the time's right. They're there just because, like, it's just a matter of time. Uh, in my opinion, if that's the case, right? And I know there might be more to it than just that specifically, but in my mind, it seems like if her ability to reason or her speech pattern seems a bit too robotic or derivative, or she repeats herself, or she uses the same introduction every time, like yeah, those are probably the easier to fix problems. I think the hard to fix problems would be how the fuck did they manage to make an AI that can scan your screen in real time and tell you and give you feedback on the video that you're watching and respond to voice prompts and transcribe text all at the same time and then animate an avatar to respond in real time to all of it. Yeah, they say multimodal. It's like, yeah, she has her ears, but you would think she needs a second set of ears, like for the vision part, essentially. So she would be able to examine audio based on the page that you're currently viewing. And what I think is interesting is that her vision feature basically is a way of creating a like context for what page or whatever it is that you're looking at. So in a sense that like you might be able to scan a page for certain information, you might be able to reference the page as to what the content is, but like an assessment of what the page consists of is probably important information for advertisers and stuff. You would think like if in a web scraping sense that if you were to use something like Leah Vision to scrape the internet and give like a page by page analysis, you know what I mean, through AI, like versus like, well, this has this, that, and the other thing. We think this is how we can sell them these items on Amazon or whatever. If you actually, sometimes that's not accurate, right? Sometimes that's not what that consists of, but like an actual page analysis tool, you know, you would think, how do you set up a web scraper to scrape and catalog almost the entire internet to use Leah's vision so that pages have context. They're not just a bunch of, you know, it's not objective. There's like a more tangible information that can be used if you've got like basically an AI painted picture assessment of what a page consists of versus like, well, these are the words they use and this is the thing that they have on there, right? It's like the fact that she can go to a video and at some point in time watch the entire video. I guess, you know, I don't know the process for that though. I guess something to do with transcription probably, if she can have access to the pre, like, you know how they pre-transcribe videos for like for closed captioning and stuff on YouTube. So if she had some sort of access to the closed captioning module or whatever it's called, then she could analyze the video based on the closed captioning text, and I guess snapshot. I don't know how it all would work, but that's just one part of it though. Like the idea of using her to and find pages that are similar based on different things, right? So if she's offering like an in-depth analysis of everything that she sees, I think just hooking up like if there's any way to set her up to be something that's a web scraper, you know what I mean, that like scans every page on the internet and builds like a profile for that specific page. Like what does it consist of? I don't know necessarily what important information she would be able to gather that others wouldn't, but I feel like it's got to be more than just what we think the page consists of based on like uh, various things, right? A more in-depth analysis, right, and then and a profile of each page or something that can then be either sanitized in some way, shape, or form to where it's like, oh well, and then you can really consider that if you were to want to make the like currently they're exploring paid advertisements through ChatGPT and Google Gemini to uh, to make the cost, I guess, cheaper. I guess where you get prompted for advertisements. But if you want to at some point in time open up the Leah Vision feature to where uh, the thing is cheaper to use if you allow your page scanned stuff to be sanitized and stored on the back end and used as sanitized like demographic based advertising information. You get what I'm saying? So a way to advertise to people in a way that's like, well, it doesn't. My ears ringing. It doesn't contain any personal identifying information, but a way of decentralized web scraping through Leah Vision that then makes the service either cheaper or free to use or potentially makes the token mineable through a DAO, where you actually get rewarded with the token for providing like decentralized web scraping analysis using the Leah Vision feature. Uh, that could be one potential mining scheme if the token ever is adopted to a mining based process, which I think eventually everything's headed that way. So you can imagine why it's frustrating, to say the least. But it's good to do it at this pace instead. It's like instead of trying to do too much at once and being overwhelmed with too much at once, uh, launching on something like Pump Fun, and then slowly getting to these very important and very crucial checkpoints, and building upon it from there, versus like opening it access, a full DAO, a website, a this, that, and the other. Like sometimes, right, that can be a bit overwhelming for people. So it's good that we're able to go at a pace that suits us basically. But I think that the potential for using the vision feature as a way to decentralize web scraping for like page analysis in a way that rewards you for potentially pays you the token or reduces the service cost for opening up a sanitized version. Basically what the law is, I guess, is that the information has to be sanitized on the front end, I believe, before it's stored on the back end, which means that like the information that you gather would be like page context, gender, um, age gap, whatever, like 18 to 25 or 18 to 24, or very specific age, and then the social profile that goes along with it, that is all like, but it doesn't have your name, it doesn't have anything that, there are, I don't know, like, don't quote me on it because I don't know the specific laws, but I just know that there's like such things as personal identifying information that before a lot of it can be stored, it has to be sanitized or something, or has to meet a certain security standard or this, that, or the other thing, right? So from a decentralized like web analysis sense, where you think that you're just, you know, you could even say, well, you might get rewarded more for exploring uncharted websites and pages. Uh, this day and age with generative AI, the amount of things being created, and I'm not the only one that has this opinion. It's like, I think it was the guy, the CEO of NVIDIA the other day said something along the same lines, but not exact, about like, well, anyway, what my opinion was is that the point in time is like you get to where these generative AIs are creating so much content that quite literally the equivalent of like all the works of Shakespeare and Mark Twain just sit and never even get recognized. You know what I mean? They'll sit in like a basically a decentralized or a centralized repository of generated AI content, and like all the greatest works, of mankind may never even be read, seen, or heard, right? Based on the fact that AI will create so much content that it becomes impossible to to read it all. Really, you know what I mean? It'll be impossible to keep up with all this shit, basically. That being said, the internet is going to get much larger at some point in time, where, you know what I mean, if you can imagine generative AI web pages and things like that, which I'm sure are pretty commonplace, or if not something that people have explored already. Um, but the need or the necessity um, to catalog all this shit is going to get more and more important as time goes on. And I say, like, it sucks that it always gets to the point. It's like, well, how do you more effectively sell somebody something? Like, that's part of it, but understanding the web too is important, right? Like, having more understanding of what each page has as far as context is concerned, not just an objective map of things it contains, but like what's the actual subject matter here, uh, in a literary sense, like, what is it that you're reading, what is it that you're seeing, not just what does it contain, right? But I think there's a lot of potential, and that's the thing is like that's just the Leah Vision feature, uh, potentially like a potential mining scheme. And and in my opinion, that might just be my crypto guy kind of understanding of how that might work. But you can imagine a free to use version of Leah and potential mining scheme where you get rewarded a few tokens every couple hours or whatever. Uh, Whatever, this is all arbitrary numbers based on how much. And if you're familiar with Helium, they're they're the equivalent of like their depend projects thing is that if you use the service on your phone, it maps the network. So if you consider the internet like one big network, the point would be to use the Leah Vision feature to map the network, the internet, you know, in some way, shape, or form. That way, you could be rewarded, you know, a few tokens here and there for your efforts, and more. You might get more tokens for mapping portions of the network or the internet that aren't currently mapped or networked, if that makes sense. Uh, Obvious legalities and things like things that are against the law or whatever wouldn't be included in the process, but to build a more like diverse kind of map of what the internet actually contains, uh, you can say that from a from an objective standpoint, you know this many ad dollars comes from this portion of the internet. How do we get a better idea of what that portion of the internet contains in a subjective sense? So then that way you can better harness those ad dollars, correct? It's like it is like kind of like a mining process. It's like we know these are there. How do we get them to here, basically? And sometimes the current analysis for these kind of things doesn't provide enough information to to paint an accurate enough picture to do that correctly, right? So potentially like a web mapping process, decentralized web mapping process might be something that she could be used for. I think would be a good idea. And I hate that all it boils down to. But what's the old adage like attention goes where money flows or whatever? It's like it sucks that it is that way, but it's not always the worst thing. You know what I mean? It's like just because some people are motivated, I don't even say by greed, but by dollars or whatever, doesn't mean that their intention is bad, right? Doesn't mean they have a negative intention. It's like, yeah, there are people that are that way, but it's like just because there's dollars to be made there doesn't mean there's an inherent bad thing there that you shouldn't be participating in or whatever. You know, it's not the root of all evil. You know, I mean, it is some of it, but not all of it's terrible for you, right? But but the idea that how do you know? Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm assuming a lot of things, but in my mind, the efforts to map the web have they've done it before. Now we've got this new technology. How do we use AI to further map the web in a way that's like you have an idea of you have a basic idea of what it consists of. I say a basic, but like obviously until the invention of something like AI, it's like no, you had a really good understanding of what the internet consisted of. Now that we've got AI that can further improve upon that analysis, it's like where's the pockets of useful information? You know what I mean? Uh, we know where they're at. It sucks that the only way that we have to determine what is and isn't considered to be useful information is advertising dollars or revenue streams, this, that, and the other thing. But it's like it doesn't mean the information's not useful. It just sucks that that's the only metric that everybody keeps track of. You know, like trust me, you know where every dollar of yours ever went. So to say that you know it's not necessarily a matter of uh, greed. It's just that's just the way things are, unfortunately, sometimes. So hopefully, the thing is what I don't know is if the Leah Vision feature is truly unique compared to some of the other uh, analysis tools that have been developed. The thing is like the reason I believe it is that I've never used a page scan like all I've ever had before was like you have to take a screenshot of your thing and you have to submit it to the AI and then they provide an analysis on like a screenshot by screenshot basis. I'm like, well, that's not necessarily efficient for web scraping, is it? No, not really. I mean, to screenshot and drag and drop each page for analysis, it's like, okay, and based on just the hypertext and all the shit, the under the hood kind of subtext and HTML and all that stuff, like that's only going to provide an objective analysis of what the page contains. Now you take that with what's on the surface, like what the actual person using the website sees, coupled with the code, the actual website's code, on top of actual image and video and audio analysis, then you're actually painting a full picture versus like what a basic understanding, right? Where I think it's just going to improve upon that map of the web basically at some point in time if it's used for that reason. I sure hope so, man. Because I mean, if you could get to the point where, and I mean that does improve the efforts. You know, I mean that does help improve the efforts to uh, find where certain information is. The thing can be used through AI to, like, if you request an answer, you know, uh, maybe. Well, I'm trying to think of how to phrase that correctly. You get what I'm saying, though, right? Like, it's a self, it's a symbiotic relationship. Basically, it's like the better you understand what the internet consists of, the better you're able to train your AI to go to the correct places for the right answers or the valued answers, basically, the most valuable answers. And it sucks that it's often based off of how much money does the page make, you know, but it is that way sometimes, you know. It requires a lot of processing power, and they might already have something similar to it, but a decentralized effort to scrape and analyze the web might be some part of it eventually. And identifying where they're, what do you call it, like signal coherence, right? You want a signal coherence from one portion of the web, so you have a foggy picture of what that part of the web looks like. You want a really clear and concise picture. Then you can incentivize people to that portion of the internet for analysis, essentially. So then that way, I say signal coherence because it's like what is just a message from one place to another. Without enough analysis, the signal isn't coherent. And if you get more information or analysis of that part of the internet or whatever, it's like then the signal becomes more coherent. Um, and you want that to make a clearer picture of something there. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, you have a basic understanding of that portion of the internet. You want a better understanding of it. How do you do that other than to potentially tokenize or incentivize people, reward people for venturing into that part of the internet, if even just for like not even for their understanding. You know what I mean? Just to help the machine learning process or whatever. How many times you have to do that? I don't know how redundant it has to be. How frequently? I don't know, but still, I don't know. But I also, one thing I don't know is how resource intensive the process actually is. I just know it's one of those things. I'm like, well, I'm sure it scales at some degree. It's just how cost effective, how much does it actually require? Uh, One of those things that probably gets improved upon over time, and it gets cheaper and faster and better, just like anything with computers. So just because it isn't there yet, if it isn't, doesn't mean it can't be, and doesn't mean it won't be ever. The sanitation process, uh, being compliant in other countries too is another thing. Multimodal AI. Might buy an exercise bike for Christmas. I've got them on Amazon for like $200. That way I can roll out of bed first thing in the morning and just get on the exercise bike and try and do like 10 or 15,000 steps a day. Because currently I don't get nearly as many steps as I should. I do a lot of work though, and currently though, it's like I'm not gaining weight. So we'll see what the next step is. Try and try and take my training a little more seriously, but currently I'm kind of restricted, so I'm just unfortunately getting up early and riding a bike. Oh my god. The Alliance won, dude. How shitty. What in the fuck? This time of year, man, is shitty, isn't it?